Jordan Peele's Get Out is definitely the movie of the decade. This is gonna be the kind of movie that in 5 years you'll be watching this shit over and over again, each and every Halloween, each and every holiday, Christmas season, every movie night that you have with your friends in the crib. From the very beginning with the continuous real-time kidnapping scene. That's not a spoiler, by the way, it literally happens in all the trailers. The anticipation that this long, continuous steady cam shot has kind of allows you to perceive this loud silence. And I think that loud silence is the pacing and the vibe that you get throughout the entire film, through the awkwardness, because this is a social horror. It's supposed to be this kind of pioneered genre that Jordan Peele is going for, which I really love. And I'm not gonna lie, I was super skeptical of this movie. As soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, all right, this is either gonna be corny as fuck and gonna be like the shittiest movie of the year, that kind of movie that everyone watches because it's just so bad that it's entertaining, or it'll be the greatest movie ever and we'll know this shit from like 50 years from now. And turns out saying that the latter was the case is barely hyperbolic. You know, my boy never buys DVDs and none of that shit. He just gets the bootlegs, and he was like, you know what? I'm getting this shit on Blu-ray. And you know, it's so surreal just to see like this unanimous praise from critics, from people alike. I've seen maybe like one status out of like 50 statuses that say something like, oh, y'all dragged it, y'all overhyped it, it wasn't all that, it was okay. I do think it's being a little bit stretched as far as like the allegorical messages and the deep themes behind it, which is the reason why I didn't choose to like make some kind of crazy analysis of this story, because I think that all of the allegory is very in your face, it is all very obvious, and a lot of the film theorists on YouTube are being kind of obnoxious about how deep they're trying to get into it. But it is a popular film, so I get it. Everyone wants to break it down. But honestly, the allegory is so in your face. This movie isn't very avant-garde in that sense. It isn't super abstract with how they convey their idea. The most abstract part, which was one of my favorite shots, was when he went into the sunken place where he started to fall. That felt particularly relatable to me, and how it feels to dissociate in certain situations, not when being hypnotized, but just on a regular basis. And I hope no one takes this as a bad thing, as me calling the movie shallow. I think it's actually a great thing that this movie is more relatable than it is abstract. I mean, not for nothing, but some of my favorite movies are some that have like convoluted plots or that are more avant-garde, like Prometheus or Interstellar. Those are sci-fi films. Something even more similar in terms of like a social psychological thriller, something like Snowpiercer. The problem with some films like that are more abstract is that its success kind of relies more on its cult following that tries its hardest to kind of debunk it, whereas Get Out was symbolic enough to teach you something, but still not out there to the point where you couldn't understand it, and it was still very relatable and everything hit home. It was all the little things that really hit. And it definitely is a kind of movie that you have to see twice or 3 times to really get every single thing, like the little Easter eggs, as Jordan Peele likes to describe. And this movie would have worked coming out at any time, but I feel like this was probably one of the best moments to come out with this kind of thing, where race in the past decade has been talked about in a very nuanced way. Technically, this is Jordan Peele's first debut film, but this guy is no novice. Like, Jordan Peele has been doing his shit for quite some fucking time. If you haven't seen Key and Peele, you can see a lot of this kind of comedic style still there. It's like dark satire. And any of my fans that like my kind of skit styles, like the kind of dark humor, you would love that kind of thing because it pokes fun at political realities. And a lot of it is very hit or miss because you might get it or you might not get it. My only beef with this film is literally the pettiest shit in the world. And it definitely wasn't just a projector at the theater I was in, because I watched this movie about twice. But the focus was like soft, and there were like split focuses every once in a while. And a split focus is, let's say I take this carrot, right, and this carrot is in a whole nother depth of field. It's all the way over here. Now this carrot being on the right third and me being on the left third, got 2 subjects here, and usually in this case scenario you're not going to be focusing on the back of this person's head, you're going to be focusing on me. But it was neither. It was like, let's say we have this fucking painting like in the middle of us, right? So we have this painting in the middle of us, and it would instead be focused on this, not be focused on me, the subject, nor the over-the-shoulder motherfucker right here. Hope that's simple enough to explain to people that are not into cinematography like that. And this particularly happened during one of the most crucial moments, which was when the mom is trying to hypnotize him. Suck in this dick's film because it's like pro-black or anything, because I Am Not Your Negro came out. The film was so trash. That shit looks like one of those slideshows I made in high school for my history projects that only my history teacher was impressed with. Like, on its own, it would be great to see something like that, like on YouTube when you're on that side of YouTube. But to pay $15 to see it, it was just... that's why I didn't even give it its own review. Let me know if you guys want one anyway. Anyway, I'm really glad to see David Kaluuya again. The reason why I was skeptical about this film was because the trailers just felt kind of cheesy to me. I didn't know if it was a comedy film. Even in the beginning of the film itself, I didn't really know if it was a comedy film or if it was a horror film or what it was. But by the very end, that wound up being the beauty of this film. This film doesn't really follow any kind of genre guidelines. It just is what it is. Jordan Peele, for me, is going to be basically my American Park Chan-wook. And Park Chan-wook is basically the director of Oldboy. For those of you that don't know, Oldboy is my favorite film of all time, basically. And when you look at his shit like Handmaiden and Thirst, it's like horror, it's like melancholy, it's like drama, it's like about the relationships between people, it's like romance, but at the same time, it's just like you don't really know what it is. It's just Park Chan-wook. It just has a genre of its own. You just go to the theater knowing that you're gonna see a Park Chan film. You're not looking for like a thrill or a horror thrill. And speaking of that, I feel like this film was very satirical on like some of the like horror tropes. Like there was literally like one jump scare. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's super funny because it's just like, oh shit, like they just had to get in like that one jump scare. You didn't think that they would do it because like most of the film is just all about the suspense, and the horror about it is just like that awkward, unsettling feeling that truly mirrors the reality of our lives in race relations today. Jordan Peele's Get... Oh my fucking god, you can't be serious.